Nick Cactus.
My hand needs to see more cards.
I get 200 more, please.
CP, reload, 200. We get you. Two times, right?
2 times, yeah.
Pop it up. Don't put a 4.
I'm gonna put it down later, right?
I'm gonna be mad. That's not you.
I had 4s.
Yeah. I would
I called it off. Not after that.
No, you got gutters.
Yeah.
Come on, please.
Sorry, Jack.
I want to skate you.
What do you have?
Jack.
You two started at 200, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I think maybe like $2 off.
You did?
All right, everybody. Welcome to the Red Star Social live stream. A little bit of slight technical difficulties getting started just now, but we are here.
Psychology, right?
Looks like we have a nice pot going to the 5 seat, Sir Mitch, to start the day. It is Kings versus Queens. He is the benefactor of all of Jack's chips in the 6th seat. I am your head commentator here on the stream. I'm Cameron Mixon, and I am excited to have these boys playing the stream today.
I got to develop and teach a course on psychology of poker when I was
Mitch reached out to me and said, "Hey, I want to play on the stream, but I have a couple guys that I want to bring in. We want to have our own little game." Brought some of his college buddies here. And yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be a good stream. We see Mao Money opening the Ace-8 of hearts. $15. Jack all in from the small blind for his remaining $3 has not added on yet. Tuition Dan going up to $65 now with the Ace Jack of diamonds. That's going to get Mao out of the pot. So we're going to see Ace Jack versus King Queen here. King Queen flopping open-ended. Tuition Dan hitting his jack. King Queen looking for a Queen King Ace or 9. Does not come. So Jack's going to reach into the wallet now. Get some more chips. Beautiful day here in Austin, Texas. Especially good day to play some poker. Sunday is always one of the best days of the week to play some poker. It's even better if you come do it here at Red Star Social. But I may be a little bit biased. So a couple of familiar faces for me. We've got Professor here in the one seat. Professor, a stream regular, plays the stream very frequently, every week. Tuition Dan been on the stream a few times as well. Dan and Professor definitely not going to be scared to battle. I'm not exactly sure about the poker experience of some of these other guys, though. And even if you are experienced, first time on the stream, might be a little nervous. Mitch making it $10 with the Queen 10 offsuit here. Tuition Dan going to come along on the button. JP gets out of the way. Professor not going to go with the 10-4. $9-8-3 flop. So Tuition Dan flopping top pair, top kicker, otherwise known as TPTK. But Mitch drilling the turn now with the 10. Goes check, check. 8 on the river. Mitch still best. Gonna go for some value now. $25, and I think Dan's gonna make this call. He does quickly make the call. Sees he's no good. It's gonna be a $100 pot going Mitch's way. So a good start to the stream for Mitch, the one who helped facilitate getting this group of guys together. It's always nice to get rewarded for hard work. Getting a group of some young poker players to come together and play is hard work, I'll tell you that. Got the $6 straddle on it, looks like, here from the 3 seat. Folds to JP on the button in the 9 seat. He's going to open up the Jack 10. Professor, a 3-bet candidate here. Oh, excuse me. He just called with the Jack 10. But Professor bumps it up to $40. George Bush out of there. And Texas Holdem also out of there. That's just going to take it down. Professor wins a small pot. JP now with the suited Queen 10. Makes it $25. And Texas Holdem makes the call. Mao Money had the straddle out there. Makes the call. Jack 4-4. checks around. 9 of spades on the turn, so JP picks up the open-ended straight draw. Mal Money, a gut shot straight draw, looking for a 10. JP can hit his straight with a king or an 8. We do see 3 8s among Holden and Mao's hands, so an 8 would be a pretty sick card here. Holden, though, bets 35, and Mao makes the call. JP, too good of a draw here to go anywhere for that price. Does come along, so we have a nice pot building right now. 3 of diamonds on the river. Now, Texas Holden, who bet the turn, perhaps a bit afraid that somebody's holding a jack or a 9. He does check, and now Mao going for a bet. Pure bluff here. $85. Does Holden pay it off? He does not. Holden folding the best hand there. So Mao taking it down with just 8 high. You see Mitch now waking up with pocket 8s. Professor rips it. The pocket 5s.
You want all in.
Professor ripping the pocket 5s, and Holden makes the call with ace queen. So Professor ripping it in that call in front
C3 all in.
of Mitch allowed him to fold a better hand. Fold pocket 8s here.
2 times? Always one. I'm always one.
Okay.
Alright, we're gonna run it one time.
What?
Yes, I know. He's holding the
King
cards.
Jack
You guys-
3 flop.
Oh.
Professor's pocket 5s are going to hold up here.
10.
And Mitch, had he called, would have won that pot. A more sizable pot for this stream so far.
Held true to what I said.
So far? Yeah.
5 more.
You've been playing on stream, you're saying?
Yeah.
And into the booth with me.
Really?
Yeah.
He's in 2 places at once.
Rest of them give you the work.
Comes the
No, I've
professor.
also been getting
Welcome to the
my
booth,
lately.
Professor.
Thanks. Yeah, that's that ability is called bilocation. So yeah, here I am traveling across space and time. Got a little bit different game today than we do most of the time. A little bit more laid-back game. Got a bunch of very nice young men who all know each other from school. and had a couple empty seats. I came in here today not knowing if I was going to, I didn't know what the game was going to be, if I was going to commentate. So I think I will splash around with these boys and maybe pop into the booth from time to time just for fun.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah, Mitch had hit me up and inquired about playing a game, getting a little group like this together, and so we weren't really sure exactly what to expect, but wanted to cater and give them their 15 minutes of fame as well. So if you're out there watching the stream right now and say, hey, I've got a group of guys I want to get on the stream, boy, we can make it happen, and this is just proof.
Nice. So yeah, these guys are a bunch of UT students, as I gather, and I think I'm picking up the most of them are still in school, maybe juniors and seniors. The guy across from me, Mal Money, he says he's graduated and he's starting off a career in finance, and just learning a little bit about these guys.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Mal Money's a pretty good screen name.
It is. That's one of the better ones we've ever had, I think, on the stream here. Big fan of that one. Got a little bit of lapse in the graphics right now. Just waiting for that to update.
Oh, this was a long time out. We had a technical thing here. You and I should think of something to talk about for a few minutes.
Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, like you said, it was this is a bit different than our normal game. Our normal game, we run a 1-3 Holdem game with a $10 mandatory straddle, and the buy-in is $200 to $1,000. This still a 1-3 game, no mandatory $10 straddle. However, the buy-in not really changed, so still $200 to $1,000. But you see, most of the guys on the table to start the day started with just $200. There was only a couple. I think Tuition Dan came in for maybe $500, and one other player came in for $300. So, as you mentioned, maybe a couple struggling college students, but still coming to risk it all nonetheless, which I love to see. I've been in that spot, not so much when I was in college, but definitely right after, when I was in my first career trying to play some poker too on the side. And it can be good. It can pay dividends when it goes right, Professor, but when all the money that's in your checking account right now is actually in your wallet and it's at risk of being put on the table, you might be, bumming food from friends for the next few days on campus.
Well, let's talk about this, because what happens here is these guys, we had a bit of a hang up here, and these guys are betting dark on the flop while they're waiting for technical difficulty to be resolved.
Okay.
So it's been a long time since I've had bankroll on the table, but when I was kind of starting out, the 7 or 8 or 10 times I did it always went well for me. There was something very focusing about being in that situation, and I never got a real bad stroke of luck. How about for you?
It's gone both ways for me. I couldn't tell you how many times, probably more than I'd be happy to admit, but yeah, I think it's kind of something that you need to do.
I agree.
To be honest with you,
If you're
gonna
serious
play
about it,
poker,
if you're serious,
like,
yeah.
if you're like, you kind of have to learn. Okay, this is what I'm doing, and like I'm gonna take some risks that maybe aren't the best things to do at the time. You can be smarter with money, perhaps, but it teaches you a lot about A, the game of poker, B, about yourself, and I think it just teaches you how to handle the game in a lot of different facets.
I concur. I think a big part of it is it depends on the size of your bankroll. You know, I got there's several guys I've talked, friends in poker, guys who are starting out who have smaller bankrolls that I've talked with about this, and I don't want to come off like, oh, I know all about this. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like that, even if it might sound that way. There's a big difference having your $3,000 or $4,000 bankroll on the table or having your $30,000 bankroll on the table.
Yeah, I think probably the most that I had when it was like all of my bankroll and in loss was probably like 10,000, 15,000, somewhere around
That
there.
hurts.
So that hurts.
But it was a spot you deemed worth the risk because it was going to be a big payday if it worked out.
It was going to be very good.
Okay. I could be back in a minute. I'm not worried about it. I'm being told that they're starting a Nick game and maybe I should get back in there, but I'm not going to sweat it. I'll join them late. It's fine.
You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember the feeling of the drive home after my first $10,000 loss. That was not so fun. So here we go. Finally seeing a flop. Tuition Dan flopping top pair.
And let's
Good
remember
kicker.
they bet this flop dark.
Okay, so they're going to
Tuition
turn.
Dan bets dark and just flops top pair. And there was a bet and a call on the flop.
So the 8 is going to lock it up for Dan now. He checks it over. Check, check. Bad news for George Bush hitting a 5 on this river. Tuition Dan going to go for some value and probably get a call. Although he does go the size of the pot here, so George Bush perhaps a avenue to get out of this hand. He makes the call. So almost $200 pot, which is so far in this game on the larger end. So we'll see how this game starts to develop throughout the afternoon, but I don't expect it to get very large. I think that these guys just want to hang out and have fun, which is a nice change of pace sometimes, actually.
I mean, I agree. That's definitely the tone in the room, and not disagreeing with you, but I will add, we get used to the stakes we play, and we think of small, medium, or large in terms of that. But if you're a college student, a $200 pot might be a large pot.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'm going to pop back in there and see if I can escape the Nick game, and I think I'll visit you again a little later.
That sounds great. Thanks for joining me. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
A nice little interview with Professor, who we see at in the 1 seat. Professor is definitely not a stranger to some young college kids, as he was actually a college professor. That is true and real. Tuition Dan flopping a queen here. George Bush with the open-ended straight draw. King Jack. Mal Money now turning a pair of 2s. And George Bush gonna call Tuition Dan's bet, looking for a king or an ace or a 9. The 5 of clubs is not any of those. Tuition Dan puts in a $100 bet, but that is going to put George Bush all in. Tuition Dan with 2 pair with the queen 5 going to be best. George Bush going to fold. George Bush reaching for some chips out of the cup holder there. Looks like he's going to add on another $100 to his stack. Perhaps more. And we're going to work on just a couple of
100, not 2.
fixes here. Just some audio and lagging issues. So I'm going to be gone from the mic for a bit. Try and turn the table volume up a little bit to let you listen in on them. But I will be back very shortly.
Who went runner aces? You remember when we were playing? That was wild. Who was that on?
Walker. It was Walker flops with the.
Already has
He goes
two
ace.
checks.
I remember he went like runner, turned every aces.
15.
That was wild.
54, fold. 55, fold. Fold.
Dan's gonna finish him and Dan's on sweat rod.
European.
What's that?
Institution and Dan's sweat too.
Check. 16 check. 8 check. 3 bets 15.
In my head, I was like, here comes the boom.
You know me too well.
What?
You know me too well.
At this point, we have what, like 5,000 hands against each other?
How many? 5,000?
Minimum.
No. We played so many with Walker back then. Imagine if he was here right now. That would be insane.
How's he doing?
No clue.
Really?
I should reach out to him. I haven't talked to him in a while.
Did he finish up?
Yeah, or like in poker?
No, did he finish school yet?
Yeah, he did.
You talked to him, man?
Yeah.
He's doing great.
He's doing good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
He fully quit, I think, right?
What's up?
He fully quit poker.
Yeah.
I think it consumed his life.
Hey, what's that?
I think it consumed his life.
Really?
Straddle. 6-6, fold. 6-8, fold.
Were we playing the 7 juice game? Should we?
No.
No.
Ralph traumatized me with that game.
Ralph?
Yeah, dude, that game's so
He puts it like, you'll buy it and like, we'll start $50 each, and then the 7 juice is $10.
You have to like, dude, Ralph, are you okay?
Yeah.
He was like, no, not big enough. I'm
Imagine we
like,
had Ralph here.
I'll have so much fun with Ralph here.
I'm gonna play with him in New York next year.
Ah,
Because
yeah.
he's a grade below, so I'll be in New York with like him and Dennis.
No, Dennis is in Vegas. No.
He's in Vegas?
Yeah,
Really?
he
No way.
called me, he goes, hey, I'm moving from Turkey to Vegas. I'm having so much fun. I'm like, this could be a problem. Why are you
I
doing
think
that?
that's gonna be a problem.
You're
64, fold. 65, fold.
like, of all the places in the
Oh, so
world.
did you straddle? Or is that a call?
Just call.
Like, of all the places in the world, like, him moving to Vegas is like the worst idea of
Right.
possible.
That was definitely not on my bingo.
Ugh.
Seat 1,
Oh, it's ready
raise
for it.
15. Seat 2, call. Seat 9, call. Alright, 3 players. Seat 9 check. Seat 1 check. Seat 2 bets 20. Seat 9 call. Seat 1 fold. Just 2 here. Seat 1 check. Seat 2 bets 40. Seat 9 fold.
What I missed?
What grade are you? What grade are you?
I'm a junior.
He's like a super senior.
Not yet. Next year I will be.
Yeah, let's go.
Next year I will be.
Seat
You're already on.
straddle
You're
6.
fine, yeah?
No, I'm on year 4.
Big blind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How old, dude?
23.
Okay.
Dude doesn't count. I lost so many credits.
What's your birthday?
December 16th.
September 16th.
December.
December.
So we just turned.
So did you ever come in and take a bunch of your like basics?
Yeah, pretty much.
Your core classes?
Yeah.
Like an English class and all that?
Yeah.
65 volt.
Dude, you're terrible at English classes.
Pretty much. I can barely speak it.
C8 call, C9 call. C1 call. C3 call. 4 players.
Check.
What's your
2 pair.
kings?
That's the Ralph hand, right?
That is a Ralph hand.
That is the Ralph. What is it called, like the slows?
No, he was like ramble on Turkish, and I'm like, dude, no one knows what you're talking about.
They don't know. That's
Hey,
good.
dude.
Alright, how much you're starting with? 200? Okay. Yes, 10.
Sure, okay.
Yes.
What's your name?
That's one.
C5 fold. C6 raise 20. C7 call. C8 call. C9 fold. C1 fold.
Okay, I am back. Apologies for the brief hiatus. So we have a new player in the game. We've got Ant coming in. Looks like. And flopping the nuts in this hand. He's got Queen Jack on Ace King 10. Intuition Dan does have an ace. Mal Money a 10, and then both Jack and George Bush low pocket pairs with the 4s and the 5s. Probably going to be relatively uninterested on an Ace King 10. So Dan did lay it down. And Ant's $40 bet's just gonna take it down here. Looks like Jack has found some Voodoo Ranger.
Doesn't hit any of our ranges.
Red Star is a BYOB establishment. Which is cool. You don't have to pay $9 for a beer. And you can bring in whatever you want, whatever kind of beer you want. You're not limited to the options that they have. The world is your oyster. So we see now money with the Queen Jack of Diamonds. Mitch made the call out of the straddle with the king 5. And we see an ace 4-3, 2 spades flop. Mitch does have the king of spades. Looking for a 5 or a deuce or a king, and he does find a 5. Goes check, check. And there's the deuce. Both players with a straight on the board. The wheel, ace through 5. Now money going to put a small bet out. It's not going to do anything. Mitch makes the call. And they're going to chop it up. Have 14 viewers right now watching live from Red Star Social in Austin, Texas on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. We stream here at Red Star every Sunday and every Wednesday. Sundays at 3 o'clock, Wednesdays at 7 o'clock Central. As we see, these guys are going to play a knit game. Got some knit buttons going out. And big news for the next 12 Sundays, we have a tournament planned, and it's going to be a fun one. I'm going to play in it, and the later parts of the tournament are going to be streamed for sure. The final table, perhaps a bit more, but it's going to be the road to the WSOP main event from Red Star Social. $100 of your buy-in going to go to the pot for a main event seat. We're definitely going to get 1 seat to give away. Hopefully 2, maybe more, depending on how these start to go. But $600 buy-in total. 100 of that, like I said, goes to a pot that we're going to keep adding to week after week, and you'll earn points for your cashes in this tournament. The players with the most points are going to go to a free roll at the end, week 12, and play for that pot that we've built. JP all in with ace queen over Ant's open with 6-4. And yeah, Ant does make the call for $40 more. 2 live cards, 6 and 4. We did see 5-4, I believe, folded. Queen, Jack, Deuce. 3 gives Ant some hope, but does not get there. Got Philly Murph in the chat saying, how many bicycles are chained up outside? I think I counted 5. Very funny, very funny. So JP the first to get rid of his knit button and doubles up in the process. Tuition Dan bumping it up with the 7 deuce here. We normally have the 7 deuce game on perpetually during our streams. This game playing a bit different. I'm not aware if they all agreed to play the 7 deuce game or if Dan is just doing it out of love for the game. Professor, who is away at the table from the 1 seat right there. He was in the booth with me just for a bit a little while ago, and this was when he was in here talking a bit. Texas Holdem with the King Jack offsuit. Mal Money, 3-bet the 10-7 of clubs, and Ant making the call with the 7s. Holdem ripping it. King Jack. Pretty good flop for the King Jack, and Ant basically drawing dead here. So that pot going Holdem's way. And there's Professor back in the 1 seat. Professor found out while he was back here, they were starting a Nick game, and he said he was not at all worried. He's just the kind of guy that doesn't mind paying the nit tax, especially in this game. I believe it's a little bit smaller. And he wakes up with aces. Kind of crazy how that works, huh? Professor just bumped it up to $10, and we're going to see this go 5 ways. Professor with the best hand ever created. King 5 6. Nobody with a king. Mal Money with the 6. Mitch with gut shot straight draw. If he can find a 3. Mal Money going to come along. As does Mitch. Tuition Dan gets out of the way. Professor with a stranglehold on this pot, checking it over. Wants to let Mal Money or Mitch take a stab at this pot here. Mal Money thinking it through. How much is he going to bet? He wants to put something in, it seems like. I believe he just goes $40. Professor not going to be folding aces here. Makes the call. Mal Money dead to a 6. It goes check, check quick on the end. Professor going to get rid of his knit button, take down a $200 pot. So just like that, he was confident. I mean, I was confident in him also, if you were listening 20 minutes ago when I was talking with Professor, that I said, oh, you're going to be fine missing the Nick game and just coming in with a button late, even if a few players already have their buttons gone. You're not worried. Why would you be worried if you're going to just get aces? George Bush making it $25 with the ace queen. Mitch making the call from the hijack with the king 10. Tuition Dan with jack 9 suited from the small blind here, just going to make the call. He still has a knit button as well. Ace, king 5, flop with 2 spades. Bit of something for everybody except for Professor. It just checks around. Mitch now turning trip kings, jumping in the lead ahead of George Bush now. George Bush needs to find an ace to win this pot. Tuition Dan drawing at the spades. The river's a 5 of diamonds. It looks like George Bush actually folded his ace queen. George Bush hits his 9 here. Still looking to get rid of his nip button. He's played a few hands trying to do so. Mal Money now putting Jack all in. Jack with ace jack in very good shape, but lays it down. Mal Money using his aggression gets rid of his nip button. Very nicely done. Tuition Dan bumped it up to $25 from the hijack with the 9-8 of clubs. We see 3 callers. Jack and Ant both have 5-3 suited. And it comes 2 5s on the flop. Queen 5-5. Mal Money with a queen as well. But everybody checks to Tuition Dan. Gonna see if he'll put more money in the pot. He does not. 6 of hearts turn. Mal Money now thinking he's got a candidate to bet, which he does. $50 is the bet. Jack going to be getting it all in for $64. There's the all in. Ant right behind him with the same hand. Not going to be folding. All in for less. Tuition Dan gets out of the way, and now Mal Money only $14 for him to call. And he does so. Mal Money drawing very slim here. Needs a queen and a queen only. bad news for Jack, who I believe is the player in this pot that has a nip button still, is he can't win this pot outright and get rid of his nip button. The river is a king of clubs. So Jack and Ant going to chop up this pot. Both players with trip fives. And you see that nip button staying in front of Jack. I'm not sure if he was aware that he wouldn't be able to get rid of it there. Here's some VPIP numbers. But we are early in the stream. Only been going for about an hour now. As we move into hand number 25. Streaming from Red Star Social here in Austin, Texas. We get started about 3 o'clock on the streams on Sundays and about 7 o'clock Central on Wednesdays. Next Sunday, as I mentioned, we will have a tournament, $600 buy-in. And we will be streaming the final table. Perhaps more than just the final table as well. Professor and Tuition Dan going at it in this pot. Heads up. Neither player with any connection to this board. But Professor going to put in the bet, and it's going to work. It's going to just take it down. That was a scenario where the first player to put in a bet in that pot was just going to win. Ant now, pocket queens. Makes it $15. Tuition Dan coming along with the 10-9 of spades. George Bush with ace king. We're going to see a classic flip here. The ace king versus the queens. Mount Money, however, with pocket nine is going to ship it first. Ant happy to see a raise and all in front of him when he's holding a hand like pocket queens. He's going to be all in for his $97. Tuition Dan going to be getting out of the way. Now George Bush makes the call. I always tell you guys, I like pocket nines. They seem to always flop sets, turn sets, river sets. Something about the nines feels very magnetic. Find that a nine often comes. And Mal Money is going to need a 9 to come if he wants any hope of winning this pot. Because he is in rough shape right now versus Ant with the queens. George Bush is going to be looking for an ace or a king in the meantime. Looks like they're going to run it twice. $462 pot, the biggest of the day. An ace on the flop. George Bush in good shape here. But it's a queen on the turn. Ant finds a miracle card there to win the first board. George Bush, who burned one of his aces, now looking for any ace or king. Jack high flop on the second board. An 8 of clubs turn, no help. And it's the 7 of spades river. Ant going to scoop the main pot. And then the side pot will be chopped between George Bush and Mal Money. So here we see cumulative winnings. Mitch up the most so far, up 320. Holdem up 288. And Ant up 200. Everybody else in the red. Jack, Mal Money, and George Bush all down $200. Moving on to hand number 27. Professor with little king 9 of diamonds. Holding now with ace 10. He's going to raise. Professor made it $60. Not sure. I'm assuming there was a straddle from Ant. Possibly a second straddle from Tuition Dan. In order for Professor to go that size, yes, we do see there's a $10 and a $20 straddle on. So, yeah, Holdem makes it 140. Professor not one to shy away here. We do see the equities are super close, even though Professor very much dominated right now. Couple of diamonds out there. It's a good flop if you're Professor. He just rips it. Wants to deny a hand exactly like Holdem has from getting there on the turn. Professor ripping it. Holdem with just ace high now. Cannot call. Professor not going to show that one. He's already relinquished his knit button, so does not have to show. You do have to show to get rid of your knit button. As we see, only 2 knit buttons remain. Tuition Dan has one in front of him, and Jack who may be outside the curtain out there has one in front of him. Heads up in the knit game is not typically when you want to have a bathroom break. Who knows, though? Maybe he's just grabbing another Voodoo Ranger. Texas Holdem making the call with the 8 deuce of clubs. Jack, we saw his hand just now. Away from the table, would have had ace 3 of clubs. Back to Tuition Dan in the straddle. Makes it $50. So this is going to be a interesting spot. Action now back to Ant. Ant not scared. He has the best hand at the moment with 10-8. He doesn't know it. He doesn't think it. Dan now flopping a 4 on ace king 4, but he was the pre-flop raiser here, so an ace king board definitely favors him a lot more than it does Ant. So Dan needs to put in another bet and rep what he was pre-flop. No, he just checks. Now this could open the door for Ant. Ant reaching for chips. 113 in the pot. Ant going to go something like half pot here, I imagine. And go 60. Tuition Dan now with bottom pair on ace king 6-4. He has the best hand, but not feeling super comfortable about it. Jack of spades on the river. If Ant can put his chips in here, I don't know that this amount is going to work. $75 is the asking price. Does Dan believe Ant? This is a tough call to make no matter the price, but if Ant just ripped his $233 or whatever it was into this pot, we would have already seen Dan's cards hit the muck. But Ant goes $75 into $230. It's a little bit of a different story. Dan thinking it over. Does he want to torch $75? Nobody wants to torch $75. In this case, it would not be torching. He makes the call correctly. Good call. Tuition Dan. Taking down a pot with bottom pair. Never comfortable. Jack going to be paying the nit tax. I'm not sure exactly how much they agreed upon. Looks like $40 is the nit tax. Not too painful, at least. But Jack has not been his afternoon. Professor bumping up the ace 4 of hearts. He's going to go after that dead money out there. Mitch making the call with King Queen. Tuition Dan probably a candidate to do so as well with King Jack. Professor, though, flops an ace. Decides on a check on this flop, wants to under-rep his hand, perhaps let a player catch up on the turn, which Tuition Dan does with the jack of clubs falling on the turn. Dan checks it. Professor now puts out a bet. $70 is the amount. Mitch does have a draw to Broadway, but lays it down. Dan now, with his pair, Professor checked the flop on the ace-high flop. Dan perhaps thinking he's got the best hand. Jack with a king kicker. 5 of spades, pretty inconsequential card, and it just goes check, check. Professor takes his showdown value and wins a $261 pot. So Professor now sitting on $839 in his stack, the graphic tells us. And he's in for just $200 today. Professor, who plays a lot of the streams here at Red Star, knows how big the game sometimes can get. Big for a 1-3 game, that is. And for him, this is a kind of a big adjustment that he needs to make to come in and play in this environment on this stream. Playing much smaller pots. Oftentimes it is easy for us to not be, or excuse me, to be playing too many hands. Because the price of getting in the pot is just typically so enticing and so cheap when we're used to playing some bigger hands. Professor flopping the joint with the 6-5. And this is a hand that nobody's going to see coming. Mal Money in trouble here with pocket tens. Watch out. Mal Money continues betting $25. He's telling the story that he's got a hand. Jack with King 10 of hearts. There is one heart out there. Professor now reaching for raising chips, which he does, $85. Does Mal Money want to just get it in now? He does. That's an all-in. Jack's out of the way. Professor makes the call. Turns it over. Mal Money in trouble. Needs to go perfect, runner, runner. Either 7-7, 3-3, 4-4, or a 10 in any combination of the 7, 4, 3, or 10. But needs to start immediately here on the turn. It's a 3. Can he find a 10 or a 3 on the river? He cannot. It's a jack of diamonds. So Professor having a big day, winning the biggest pot of the day so far, $647, as Mal Money now reaching into the wallet. Gonna get some chips. Just walking back into the booth here. See a nice pot going Holden's way with the pocket nines versus ace 3. Looks like we've started another Nick game. Holden not having a bad day so far. We just grabbed a couple burgers that just got here from P. Terry's. I was a bit hungry this afternoon. Old Top, thank you for tuning in. Just now getting back to the comments here. Come on down. Plenty of poker to be played here in Austin. And if you do, come on down, let me know, and we can work it out to get you on the stream if you want. Jack now. Finally, a hand with a lot of potential, and this is not the flop he wanted to see. An ace, ace, queen, 2 hearts flop. Kings are still best, and he has the king of hearts in his hand. However, Ant, 7, 6 of hearts. Hold him with the 4 high hearts, the 4 deuce. Mao getting out of the way with his queen. So Jack, pretty much the best scenario right now. Holden picking up straight outs. His hearts would be no good. Of course, he doesn't know that. But the 3 is a welcome sight. Gives him some more outs. I believe Holden went all in with his draw, and Jack made the call. So Jack in good shape here to double up and win a $281 pot. If he can avoid a heart or a 5 on the river. They're running it 2 times. All right. Clean river on the first board for Jack. And the second one as well. Jack going to win a $281 pot. $17 of you tuning in to this stream on a beautiful Sunday afternoon here. Coming at you live on location from Red Star Social in Austin, Texas. We've got just a fun, relaxed, laid-back game with real stakes. Have some younger guys playing on the table. A few college kids. I believe they're juniors and seniors. I think Professor mentioned that Mao is recently graduated and started a career in finance, and I assume that some of these gentlemen are on a similar path. Yeah, Old Top, love to hear that. Professor still with a knit button, as is George Bush here in the 2 seat. Mitch in the 5 seat with a nip button as well, still picking up pocket sixes. Then 3 nip buttons on the other side of the table. Ant, Dan, and JP all with nip buttons. JP been mighty quiet tonight. He's played a few hands, but I'm going to see a Jack 8-4 flop. Holdem flopping top pair. And George Bush with a gut shot straight draw. If he can find a 6. A 6 would be a very spicy card, as it would also give Mitch a set of 6s. But George Bush going to need to make the call here if he wants to make a straight. He does. Still 4 ways now. We have $215 in the middle. Jack of hearts. So very good card for Holdem. More or less locking it up. Holdem all in for 142, the graphic says, but that's incorrect. We can see he's got a little over 250, I believe. So Holdem taking that one down. And Professor coming back into the booth for me, going to be joining me.
So, any clever folks in chat?
We've got about 20 people watching right now.
Nice.
There's been a couple comments. Philly Murph was in chat, and he said he's just watched for a bit, and he said, "Dang, how many bicycles are chained up out front?" I thought that one was pretty good.
Outstanding. It would be a good day to ride a bicycle here.
It
Man,
actually
it's
would.
nice out.
Beautiful day outside. Mitch with a couple clubs in his hand, but Ant gonna rip top pair, the King 6. He's all in, $87. Tuition Dan with the open ender here, making the call. Mitch counting out the calling chips as well.
Have you ever ridden a bike to get to a poker game?
I don't think I have.
I have once.
Have you?
Yes.
How far was the bike ride?
It was a decent ride. It was when I was living in Denver, and there was a home game I liked to play, and I didn't have a car one week, and I'm like, I'm still going to play, and I rode my bike over there. It took a while.
King on the turn. Pretty good card for Ant. Making it less likely that our opponent has top pair and a better kicker than our 6. But 3 of clubs on the river. Mitch hits his flush. And he's going to go all in. Tuition Dan, though, with just queen high, quickly mucks. And Ant Losing that one. Going to be rebuying. Reaching for chips. Mitch taking down a nice sized pot. Yeah, were you worried? Did you have cash on you when you were riding?
I must have. It wouldn't have been that much. It wasn't that big a home game. It was kind of a chill home game. It was like 50-cent one or 1-2. I don't remember. So I probably had a few $100 on me. Nothing to worry about.
That's not bad then. Yeah, we mentioned when you were in here in the booth the last time that they were starting a Nick game and wanted to tell you to go out there, and you weren't worried at all. And then I noticed that you happened to go out there and immediately get dealt aces.
I noticed that too.
So that was fun. That was a fun little bit to talk about whenever I was back here on the 20 minutes after that. I was like, wow, this is quite the coincidence.
Yeah, that worked out okay. Flopping a straight to murder tens wasn't bad either. So yeah, I'm running kind of hot. I'm only in this game for $200 and I have like 1,100 on the felt. So not really trying to beat up on these young men, but it's just coming my way. So what can you do?
Happens. It'll happen to them as well. One day or another, they will beat up on some young men
For sure.
at a poker table. And we have a collision here. JP, who's been pretty quiet with the aces.
He is quiet. He's been quiet both literally and figuratively, so gets rewarded for his patience here, and they're going to go twice if I remember correctly.
Ant needs a king. So unfortunate to rebuy and immediately get dealt kings, but run into aces. It's
pretty rough.
Not fun. We see JP has the hearts covered as well. So he's going to take the first board. Ant in danger of losing about half of his rebuy stack here of the $300 he put on the table. A couple hearts again. King of spades on the river. Can he find it? He cannot. JP going to double up and get rid of his nit button. How much is the first nit game was $40? Is that still the amount?
Yeah, I think it's going to just stay there. You know, it's a different vibe,
Yeah.
Sort of different stakes.
I kind of
today.
assumed that it would. Here we see the cumulative winnings. You're up $585, it says, which...
Well, I'm up 585 in Red Star stats, but in fact, I am up considerably more than that.
Right.
I'm only in the game for $200.
Right. We see the other winners, Mitch, Holdem, and now JP after that hand. Mao Money, the biggest loser after you decimated his tens. And here's some VPIP numbers. JP really the only one in the red zone, I would say, with the 15%. Everybody else up above 31%.
Yeah, those are strong numbers.
Making some calls, playing some hands. I've noticed, this game, we've mentioned it plenty of times, it plays quite different. One of the things is in these pots, a lot less aggression post-flop.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think Tuition Dan is playing his usual style. I'm halfway playing the way I usually play.
I think it's a tough adjustment in your shoes, personally, to come into a game like this, because there's no... You play this stream every week almost, and the game gets quite big occasionally, and the pots that you're playing today relative to some of the pots that you would normally play on this are fractions of the size and the dollar amount. So it forces you to be disciplined and try and play, play real poker and play real hands whenever it's just tough when sometimes the dollar amounts, relatively speaking, are not as high as you would normally see.
I mean, that's all true, and I would agree with that. I think I'm generally pretty okay at that. Like, I can drop down in stakes and still play relatively well. I think for any poker player, I think it's important to recognize if you've outgrown a certain stake, like you just can't play well at that stake because the money doesn't matter to you anymore. But for myself, I'm not that rich. I can still play well at small stakes, I think.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's a leak that a lot of poker players have is exactly what you just said, not being able to care about the money in a smaller game. See a king 7 flop, Mao money now.
Oh, this is interesting because I thought he bets real small here, and I had the thought, like, maybe I can take this away with a raise, and I did give it a little thought, and I just decided, I'm not going to take the chance this time, and I would not have taken this away with a raise.
No.
I like this bet from him. I like it a lot.
He bet 15, correct?
Yeah, 15 into, I thought it was about 80. Yeah. So I like that. I like that kind of thinking a lot. And he almost got me to raise him. So.
Yeah, it almost worked. Kind of exactly how he had it planned, because, I mean, you want to put in a bet after being that pre-flop aggressor, but on a board that we smashed that heavily with no draw either, really.
Yeah.
It's tough sometimes to find a size that really accomplishes anything. And I think that you're right, that small size actually accomplishes everything. It does get more chips in the pot when we have value, but it also, when a player has a random 7 or maybe some ace high type holdings occasionally, going to get after it against us.
I was able to make a nice steal here, and now I'm getting to see that I was up against at least one better hand, so this worked out nicely. This was this the splash pot? I think maybe. I can't remember now.
No, it's not quite the splash pot. There's
I get rid of my nip button here. That's what it was.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's a great spot to steal $45 and get rid of your nip button.
So some action camera work there in motion.
Yeah, the guys in the studio doing a lot of work with the cameras week after week. Keeps getting better and better. We
appreciate the work that the crew does to make this stream happen. Good work, gentlemen.
It is a lot of work. So if you're watching, if you're in the chat right now, why don't you just go on over and hit that like button. Go subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't yet. We keep climbing. That number just keeps growing higher and higher each week. So it's pretty fun to see. I think just 2 remaining nip buttons. I think we have Ant.
Yeah, I think you're right.
With one, and the other one is at the other end of the table, and it's also between George Bush and Holdem, but I think it's George Bush.
Yeah, I think it's George Bush.
I think I remember. Ant gonna rip the ace-8 right now, and Jack has jacks. So JP now waking up with ace-queen.
Ooh, I think JP folded ace-queen.
He folded ace-queen.
I mean, that would fit with your being a 15% VPIP player.
Yeah, very, very tight fold, but we do see
one, as it turns out.
In this instance, it was pretty good fold, as he's would be behind pocket jacks, and one of his aces would be burned from Ant.
I folded an ace too, so aces were dead.
That just means we're going to see a queen here on this board, I'm sure. Jack in great shape, though, considering we've seen 2 aces gone. No help for Ant. Needs one ace. The ace of diamonds. Cannot find it on the first board. Burning up a handful of his straight type cards to the 8 as well. Ace of diamonds only. Going to the river. Close.
Scoop for the Jacks.
Jack, who started off the stream getting stacked. And I think then lost a little bit more and lost the first Nick game. Now back to relatively even, I would imagine, from where he was after winning that pot. So I like to see that for him. I don't want to see... It's not fun when you come into the stream, maybe not as the most experienced player, like someone like you or I, maybe even the first time he's ever played on a stream.
It's likely, yeah. I mean, I think it's likely that it's probably most of these guys' first time on a stream.
So perhaps even a little bit of nerves for these guys. Probably have some family and friends watching in the chat today. They don't want to look silly.
Having said that, it's important to not be afraid to look silly in this game.
I really agree with that. I think that a lot of people are scared to look silly in a hand or a spot.
Oh, now this hand, hold that thought. This hand was funny because Mao talked George Bush into showing a card before he called, and George showed a king, and the flop comes 9-8-5, and they check it down. And when the hand is over, I say to Mao, I'm like, you have to jam on that flop.
Yeah, 100%.
And he said, that's my buddy. So yeah, you know, whether you're on stream or whether you're just playing a game that is off stream, it not being afraid to look foolish, I think, is actually a strength. I mean, being able to think through any of your options, even one that's high risk or even one where if you're wrong, you're going to look like a fool. That's not important. The looking foolish thing isn't important. I mean, if you're making bad decisions all the time, that's important.
That's one thing for sure, but I think that people, they'll watch a poker stream and see somebody do something that in a vacuum may look very odd and uninformed, but you often, as a viewer, don't necessarily understand the entire dynamic of the game.
Exactly.
The history of the players. There's so many things that play into different decisions at the poker table.
So on that, I'm going to head back in there in a moment, and I'm going to risk looking foolish. And I'm kind of hoping that in the time I've been here, they've already started a Nick game and that I'm 1 or 2 players behind, because I think that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So I'm going to head back in there and hopefully find myself in the middle of a Nick game.
All right. Perfect.
All right. Till next time.
Yep. Thanks again. We'll see you soon. Me? I don't know. I just got a single, so.
out there right now. He walked out. He's like, "Oh, you can see our cards." He goes, "That's cool." He's gonna win.
That's funny.
All right, I'm back. Took a short break there to grab a few bites to eat. It allowed you guys to hear some table talk. Here's the cumulative winnings. Professor, big winner on the day. He's up a bit more than $539, though, as he's only in for 200. Texas Hold'em winning behind him. Mitch also up. Tuition Dan up 190. JP up. Everybody else in the red. Ant just left us after the Jack 10 hand that he played against Tuition Dan, where Dan had Jack 2. Jack deuce, the Choctaw nuts. But we've had some good action. Not as large necessarily as our normal streams, our normal Sunday and Wednesday streams. And here we are going into hand 48. Selena has left the box. So we have a new dealer coming in. Dan, who flopped top set with pocket sevens, now in trouble as Holden turns the nuts with 8-9. George Bush looks like he's considering putting money into this pot. There it is. Puts a bet out of $35. And he is in a world of trouble right now. He's drawing to a chop only. George Bush bets $35, and Texas Hold'em raises $130 now. Now, if you're in Dan's shoes, what do you do with top set? You go all in. George Bush makes a fold, and we see a quick call from Hold'em. Tuition Dan needs to find a board pair. Or Hold'em will be the beneficiary of a $932 pot. Looks like they're running it twice. Ace of clubs on the first. And a ace of spades on the second. So a big pot for Texas Hold'em. So I believe that is the biggest pot of the stream so far today. Over $900. Texas Holdem, pocket sixes, makes the call. Mal money raising up to $20. Tuition Dan with the 8-7 of diamonds, my favorite hand. JP coming along with King Jack. We're going to see a five-way pot. Four deuce. Nothing for anybody, but six is still in the lead on the 4 high flop. George Bush gonna put it all in though for $34 with ace high. Holden makes the call. Ace king folds. Dan folds. JP's gonna be folding as well. George Bush is going to need to find a ace or a 10. Just 6 outs, and we can see that only 3 of them are live. The others are spoken for. So 6s hold up on the first run out. And they hold up on the second run out. So Holden building a stack that is going to give Professor's stack a run for its money. Heads up pot here with Mal Money and Tuition Dan. Mal Money flopping 2 pair with the ace-5. Tuition Dan with a pair of kings. Mal Money's going to check call $5. Excuse me, check raise to $10. He's going to go ahead and bet 15 on the turn. And an ace on the river. got the best hand. Dan, though, not going to make the call. Tuition Dan with an ace, bumping it up. Professor back to the table. Jack 10 of spades on the button. Couple spades out there for Professor. As well as a straight draw. But his bet just takes it down on that one. We have an all-in, I believe, from Tuition Dan, who was in the straddle. Faced a raise in front of him from Mal Money. 2 calls. Yeah, he's all in for... The graphic says 117. Mal Money quickly making the call. Mitch making the call as well. So we see Dan, I believe, has 102. If I'm counting the stacks correctly. Bit tough for me to see with the lighting sometimes, but looks like 102. Mao, I believe, accurate in for 173. Mitch with the call. So $500 pot, basically. Jack can never know this, but I think Jack has gone all in as well. Or just makes the call. Jack actually in the lead when we look at the equities with the Queen 9. Because Mao's 8 kicker is in the hands of Mitch at the moment. Tuition Dan has just 10-6 of clubs. So Jack taking a big gamble here, $636 in the middle, and we have a little bit of side action between Mitch and Jack. We'll see what they decide to do. Jack flopping an open-ended straight draw with the Queen 9 on Jack 10-7. Tuition Dan flopping a pair of 10s. Mitch's equity shriveling up. Jack going to be looking for a queen or a king really here. Oh my goodness, he hits his 8, and this is trouble for Mitch. Jack is all in, and Mitch has, I believe he's called. Mitch may have gone all in first, and Jack called, which it does look like is the case. So we've got a big pot here. Jack with the nuts at the moment. Now Money and Tuition Dan are both drawing dead. Mitch needs to find a board pair, but there are not a lot of board pairs remaining. As we see, the 8's gone and a 10 gone. He does still have 2 7s, 3 jacks, and 2 10s. It looks like they're going to run it twice. It doesn't matter for Mal Money or Tuition Dan. Ace of Diamonds on the first river. No help for Mitch. Jack winning that one. But Mitch finds a 7 on the second river. So Mitch and Jack going to chop that one up. Professor has been teaching poker class today, Shadow. We have lost now Mal Money. That was the end of the road for him. A couple open seats on the stream. Not sure if we will get them filled or if we're perhaps just going to call the stream early here in a little bit. Usually we go for at least 4 to 4.5 hours on Sundays, but this has been just a little bit more laid back stream. We will be live again on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central, so please tune in on Wednesday if you're in here now. Every Wednesday and every Sunday, coming at you live from Red Star Social here in Austin, Texas. 34 people watching in chat right now as we see Jack start to pick up some hands. Flopping trips here after he just won that pot last hand. So Jack checked. Dan bets $15. Dan picking up one of the cards that he was looking for. He hits a 5 here, which turns him an open-ended straight draw. He'll be looking for an 8 or a 3 to vault into the lead against Jack's Jack 7. But it is not an 8 or a 3. Jack with trip 7 is going to take this hand down and get rid of his knit button. They just have started another knit game, I believe. This is the first hand. Jack with just kind of a hodgepodge of chips over here. Professor bumping it up $10. Holdem makes the call. Mitch picking up pocket jacks. Just made the call. I couldn't see if he meant to raise, perhaps. It looked like there was some kind of discussion there, but held to just a call. So $50 in the middle, 5 ways. Pocket Jack's still good on 10-3-3. Now he's going to put in a bet. Looks like $30. Jack with king high. Not going to be making the call. Dan gets out of the way. Professor out of there as well. Mitch going to show his hand and get rid of his knit button with pocket jacks. coming back in. See JP with a 10 here. Looks like he's going to go for a bet to get rid of his nip button. He did not show his hand. Does not get rid of the nip button. That is a rule amongst the players that you have to show your hand in order to relinquish the nip button once you've won a hand. Texas Holdem with the pocket tens. He's going to remember to take down that pot and get rid of his nip button. 2 nip buttons remaining. Dan with a nip button, JP with a nip button. Professor making it $30 here with the ace-3 of spades. Holdem making the call with pocket eights. Jack comes along with 6-4 of hearts. Tuition Dan now with the queen-jack of spades is all in. JP, who also has a nip button and a mystery hand right behind him, lays it down. He's hoping to see some defense here from somebody. Professor has not folded yet. He does lay it down now, though. Holdem counting out some calling chips. There's the call. And Jack with 6-4 of hearts closing the action now. Pocket eights for Holdem and queen jack of spades for Tuition Dan. Tuition Dan needs to win this board. Picks up some more outs by way of a 10. There's an 8 for Holdem. Doesn't really change anything. So the 8s are going to be good. Holdem having quite the afternoon now. So we get a great shot of the stack in front of him as he stacks those chips. Beautiful. Very nice and legible red star chips. If you don't know the values are $1 for those blue chips that you see that they pay the blinds with, the 1-3 blinds. And then the red chips are $5 a piece. Green chips are $25 a piece. And that's all we have on the table right now. Usually we see some black chips, which are worth $100, and we also have the nice lavender purple chips worth $500 as well. Jack with a diamond draw now, and he's going to put a bet out there of $35, but Holden picked up 2 pair on this turn. Jack in some trouble. Holden going to raise it to 105, it looks like. Jack just going to let go of the diamond draw, correctly laying it down. Jack's got a unique look. Looks like he's got his pajama pants on still. A Florida Gators shirt, but a Mercedes hat. It's quite the combo. Drinking a Voodoo Ranger. I like his style. 2 knit buttons still remain between Dan and JP. Who will be the one to get rid of it? Professor attacking with a raise here against 2 opponents he perceives as being weak. Holden not folding the ace high. Ace high still best. Professor going to be upset he did not fire again there. So we started streaming at 3 o'clock Central Time, 2 hours and 45 minutes ago. The players have been playing. We've played with a full table most of the afternoon until we recently had a couple of exits. Normally on our Sunday streams, we go about 4.5 hours, sometimes longer on Sundays, but we are likely going to cut that short today as they are just six-handed. Depends on if the players want to keep playing or not as well. Jack putting in a 3-bet with Jack 4 offsuit, and he does flop a straight draw here. He's got a gut shot straight draw, looking for a 3. Would give him the straight. Mitch leads on this flop with just ace high. Jack now pairing his 4 and is in the lead. Goes check, check on the turn. But it's an ace on the river for Mitch. Mitch going to be looking to go for some value here. Looks like he comes with $55 and a quick call from Jack. So Mitch going to win a $250 pot. Still 2 knit buttons. Gonna find out who loses this knit game eventually. JP in this pot with the 9-8. 7-7-5 flop. Jack is still in the lead with ace king. He was the pre-flop raiser. Counting out some betting chips. He's going to bet 18. JP does have a straight draw, as does Holdem. Holdem making the call off this big stack that he's built up. Over $1,400 sitting in front of him now. Deuce of diamonds on the turn. Goes check, check. 10 of hearts, river. The only way Holdem can win this hand is by betting. And he does. Does Jack want to look him up here with ace high? I think he does. Jack going to make the call. And he takes that one down. Nice call from the Voodoo Ranger. I think that's going to be his new nickname. Jack still has not gotten the hang of scanning his cards or having chips out of the way to be able to scan his cards, I should say. Professor with ace six of hearts. There is a $6 straddle and there's a $12 straddle on, I should say. I think Jack just straddled $12. I don't believe there was a 6. Jack looking at 7-4 offsuit now, facing a raise from Professor to $45. And that's just going to work. That's just going to take it down. Jack not going to get too squirrely there. So thank you all for tuning in to the stream on this beautiful Sunday. Let me know where you're watching from right now. And who you're rooting on. I'm curious to see if there's any Jack fans, any Mitch fans, JP fans, Professor fans. Well, Professor's got fans everywhere. We know that. Maybe Texas Holdem has some fans watching from somewhere. As he raises the button with ace 10. Mitch makes the call with pocket threes, and Dan's going to come along with 5-3. Tuition Dan with a gut shot to the wheel does just let it go. Blinds are $1, $3. We're playing no limit Holdem. This is a little bit of a smaller game than we normally have on the stream. Normally we play a 1-3 game with a mandatory $10 straddle, and the players buy in anywhere from $200 to $1,000. Oftentimes seeing players opt for the bigger buy-in in that game. Not nearly as many chips on the table today in this game as there are in that game, typically. See pocket eights again. I think we've seen pocket eights, seems like 10 times today. Professor coming along, though, with the 6-5 of clubs. Jack with a very strong draw here with the Jack 8 of diamonds. We can see on the screen he's got the best equity. Holdem with the best actual hand at the moment. But Jack with a straight draw and a flush draw would be a straight flush if we can find the 9 of diamonds. Professor making the call with his pair of sixes. Jack hits his flush immediately. 3 of diamonds on the turn. Checks to Professor. And Holdem's going to check back as well. And 4 of diamonds is really going to kill Jack's action here. Jack with the turning the flush with the Jack 8 of diamonds, and the only one of these 3 players with a diamond in his hand. So Jack is checked. Professor now checks. It does look like Holdem is going to take a stab at it. And Jack with the quick call for $120. So we see a decent pot going Jack's way now. $459 pot. And Jack just knocking the stack of chips over in front of his card reader. It's quite amazing that we've ever had his cards scanned at all. See that? As he gets a little assistance there. Holden folds. Mitch going to bump it up to $25. Professor putting in a raise. And this is just going to work. Professor taking it down with 9 high like a boss. See Holden put the $6 straddle on. JP and Dan both still with knit buttons. Tuition Dan deciding Queen 8 on the button here is the one that he's going to use to not hopefully have to pay this knit tax. Professor going to play some defense though. With pocket 7. So pretty much best case scenario for Dan here with Queen 8. Yeah, Queen 8 not really the hand you want to be called with when you're all in this spot, but we do see that he's got 2 overcards to Professor's 7s. Ten, 10, 2 flop. Another 2. But it's a king on the end. So Professor takes that one down with the pocket 7s. Dan walks out of the room getting some chips, I believe. How we looking? Jack now with the pocket 7s in this hand. JP and Dan both still fighting for this knit game, but neither have gotten rid of their button. Professor now hitting a jack on the turn, and Jack is in trouble with the pocket 7s here. He may just decide to just make a quick fold and get away. Yep, he does. Professor takes it down. And we are coming to the end of the stream. We're going to see this Nick game play out first, and then we will part ways. So thank you all for tuning in this afternoon on a Sunday here at Red Star Social in Austin, Texas. So we move into hand number 70. I believe we've got about 5 hands after this. So JP just limped in with the pocket aces and let Holden into the pot with the 9-7. 9-7 flops the joint on 8-6-5, and JP's not going to see this one coming. There's the call for Holden. A 7 may slow JP down a little bit. King of Hearts on the river. Holden going to go for some value here. JP facing a bet of $70, and there's the call. He thinks he has the best hand, and he is going to be shocked to see the 9-7. So JP thought that he was finally going to get out of this Nick game and not have to pay the tax. That will not be the case, as aces go down in flames to 9-7 offsuit. That's why you raise aces pre-flop, folks. Yeah, I don't know the background, the poker background here of Texas Holden. Obviously a younger cat, friends with Mitch and these guys, and came to play some poker with his college buddies. Now sitting on a roughly $1,400 stack there, I think. Jack now has moved his chips to the right side of this card reader, and they're in stacks. A little more organized now. JP bumping it up with ace-5 of diamonds. Makes it $15. We see a raise from Holden on the button, though. Mitch looks like he's contemplating doing something here. Holden with 9s. Made it $45. Mitch has jacks, just making the call. Sorry, I'm back. We had to mute the mic because started laughing at the game of hot potato that was being played with the chip there.
Oh my god.
Checks to Holden on the button, and he puts in a bet. $90. Mitch, who has severely under-repped his hand, makes the call. Dan and JP both get out of the way, so Nick game's still going to be going on. Mitch, a stranglehold in this hand, and 9's feeling pretty comfortable still on 8 deuce deuce 4. 3 is not a scare card for the 9s either. I think Mitch can comfortably bet here and get called, but does just check. So very good check back from Texas Holdem. Mitch going to take down a $363 pot. Tuition Dan with the 7-5, JP with ace deuce, Texas Holdem with king 9 of hearts, flops top 2 pair. JP with the deuce, pair of deuces. No good. Needs an ace or a deuce on the river if he does decide to make this call. But he decides to let it go. Big shout out to Mama Mixon watching from DFW as always. I love that she tunes in every stream. She's probably watched more hours of Red Star Poker than anybody else, other than me, of course, but Professor was in the $6 straddle. Jack bumped it up to $15. Dan makes the call with king 9. Professor coming along. 10 on the flop for Jack. Jack puts a bet out. Professor did make the call with his pair of 4s. A 6 of spades turn. Not really too enticing for the Professor here. Professor opting to check this down. Keep his showdown value. Not get blown off of that. But a pair of 10s. Good for Jack. So we're on hand 74. We're down to our last few hands. I believe hand 76 is our last hand of the stream. So we will see some resolution here for the Nick game. Jack, ace, 9 of diamonds. Tuition Dan bumping it up. Looking at the Voodoo Ranger to make the call. There it is. Seven, 7-5, 2 spades flop. Jack still in the lead with ace 9. Tuition Dan, ace 4. Putting a bet out there. Jack of hearts, and we see Tuition Dan has a lot of the deck to chop or win. And he does find a 4. Goes check, check. Tuition Dan takes the hand down and gets rid of his knit button. That means that we are going to see JP pay the knit tax. We finally have finished the knit game. JP early on in that knit game did forget to show his hand. And it was costly. Forgot to show his hand to get rid of his knit button. And it cost him the knit game. So this is a splash pot. We'll see 25 extra bucks out there in the middle for these guys to fight over. Mitch raises it to 12. Jack's still figuring out the values of each chip as we are 3 hours into the stream. He's getting there, though. Tuition Dan putting in a nice 3-bet to $50 with 5 high, and he picks up an extra 25 bucks. Not a bad result with 5 high. So that is it for the knit game. We see Dan win the extra splash pot money. And this is our last hand of the stream, moving in to hand 76. It has been a great afternoon and a very fun stream. A big thank you to the dealers today, the staff at Red Star, as well as the production team in the back doing the camera work and doing all the graphics that you see on the screen. That is all done manually by real people. Mitch with pocket fours just lays it down here. He must have a read that Holdem has 9s, or perhaps knew that Dan had a 4 in his hand as well. See, Jack 8-7 flop. JP does flop an open ender with the 5-6. The 9's still in the lead. Now, JP with heart draw as well. And he finds a 9, so this is a spot JP has a straight, but it is not the best available straight. Queen 10 would be the nuts on this board. Holdem, however, putting in a bet with his set of 9s. JP loses to a lone 10, as that would be a straight to the jack as well. But 6-5 is a pretty strong hand here. He does make the call, and he's going to win the pot and take that down. $159 pot to end the stream. Big shout out to Mitch for getting the guys out here. It's a fun little game with some new faces on the Red Star stream that we've never had before. So Here we see cumulative winnings. Texas Holdem, the big winner. Professor not far behind him. Professor only in for 200, so the graphic number a little bit off. Mitch up 755. Jack up 400. JP up. Everybody else was down. And there's the VPIP numbers. Dan holding it down. JP got up a little bit to 26%. Professor right in the golden range of 39%. But it was very fun. Some exciting hands, some exciting poker. These guys are going to go watch this stream back and love it. I'm your commentator, Cameron Mixon, here at Red Star Social. And we will be back live on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Central. Hope to see you then.